Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the March 15th, 2023 board meeting. My name is Sang-Oh, president of the board. Before we convene, I'd like to remind everyone present that the board is a consumer protection agency charged with administering and enforcing pharmacy law. Where protection of the public is inconsistent with other interests sought to be promoted, the protection of the public shall be paramount. This meeting is being conducted consistent with the provisions of Government Code Section 11133. Participants watching the webcast will only be able to observe the meeting. Anyone interested in participating in the meeting must join the WebEx meeting. Information and instructions are posted on our website. As I facilitate this meeting, I will announce when we are accepting public comment. I have advised the meeting moderator to allow 3 minutes to each individual providing comments. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting. Before we get started, I would like to ask staff moderating the meeting to provide general instructions. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. Before we get started, I would like to remind board members and senior staff who are not speaking to mute their microphones. If I detect background noise during the meeting as a result of unmuted microphones, I will interject with a brief friendly reminder or simply mute the microphones. To facilitate public comment, we will be utilizing the WebEx question and answer feature, also referred to as the Q&A panel. When the board reaches a point in the agenda at which public comment is appropriate, public comment will be requested. At the president's direction, I will turn on and announce the opening of the Q&A feature. It is not necessary to identify yourself in order to make public comment. I will take comments in the order they are received. I will give the member of the public the ability to unmute themselves. The member of the public will have 3 minutes to make their comments. I will provide a 10-second warning, and at the conclusion, the microphone will be muted, and we will move on to the next member of the public who has a comment. Please note that the Q&A feature is being used only as a means for members of the public to represent that they would like to make a verbal comment. Once given permission to unmute, the member of the public may unmute themselves and verbally state their comment. The Q&A feature is not to be used for typing out questions or for board members to communicate with one another. And with that, I return the floor back to you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Tricia, as always. With that, I'd like to take a roll call to establish a quorum. Maria Serpa.
Licensee member present.
Morning, Maria. Jig Patel. Jig won't be joining. Renee Barker. I believe Renee won't be joining. Indira Cameron Banks.
This is the moderator. I see she's joined us, but she does not have audio yet.
She's probably still trying to join. I think there's some network issues for Indira. So, okay. All right. We'll try to get back to Indira. Trevor Chandler.
Public member present.
Good morning, Trevor. Jesse Crowley.
Licensee member present.
Morning, Jesse. Jose De La Paz.
Public member present.
Good morning, Jose. KK Ja.
Licensee member present.
Good morning, KK. Kula Koenig. I believe Kula is joining at 12 today. Hopefully she could participate later. Ricardo Sanchez. I believe Ricardo won't be joining. Nicole Tebow. Don't believe Nicole is joining today. Jason Wise.
Good morning, Jason Wise, public member.
Good morning, Jason, and I'm here. The quorum is established. Moving on to the next agenda item for public comments on items not on the agenda items for future meetings. If you could proceed on the slide, Tricia, please. A quorum has been established. I ask everyone participating today to be respectful of the work before the board today. We encourage participation by members of the public throughout our meetings at appropriate times. The board respectfully requests that when comments are provided, they're done so in a professional manner consistent with how the board conducts its business. I will now ask the moderator to open the line for individuals to provide the opportunity for public comment. You're not required to identify yourself, but may do so. As we open the lines, I would like to remind everyone that the board cannot take action on these items except to decide whether to place an item on a future agenda. Members, following review of the public comments for this agenda item, I will ask if any members would like to comment on what, if any, items should be placed on a future agenda. As a reminder, this agenda item is not intended to be a discussion, rather an opportunity for members of the board and members of the public to request consideration of an item for future placement on an agenda, at which time discussion may occur. Moderator?
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to make a comment, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. Or you may simply raise your hand. If you've called into the meeting, just press *3 to raise your hand. You'll have 3 minutes. I'll give you a 10-second warning. And I do see Paul Yoder has his hand raised. So Paul, you should be able to unmute yourself. All right, Paul Yoder, we'll give you one more chance. If you see a prompt to unmute yourself, go ahead and click it. There you go, Paul Yoder, you're unmuted.
Hi, good morning. Oh, gosh darn it. I thought I could only talk over the phone. I am so sorry, board members. Okay, can you still hear me?
Yes.
All right, board members. Okay, let me give this a shot. I apologize. My first time testifying to the Board of Pharmacy. I'm Paul Yoder, one of the founding partners of the Sacramento advocacy firm Shaw Yoder, Antwi, Schmelzer, and Lang. I testify in legislative proceedings all the time. But as I said, it's my first time testifying to this board. And I'm testifying this morning on behalf of the California State Association of Psychiatrists. You may have seen an article earlier this week in the New York Times regarding problems with the dispensing of vitally needed medications around the country. This is particularly acute in California. It is particularly acute in California because the large retail drug chains are making it more and more difficult every day for patients to get the medications that they need. They have internal protocols that have clearly been developed and strengthened because of recent settlements involving opioids that are requiring psychiatrists and patients to jump through hoops that are just frankly unconscionable. I've educated myself, our client has educated, they have educated themselves about pharmacist rights. I really want to ask you today to place on a future agenda an item that would hopefully engender not only a discussion, but a collaboration between the board and pharmacies and pharmacists, psychiatrists, potentially advocates for the mentally ill in California, and potentially other groups, because unfortunately this isn't just limited to medications to treat psychiatric conditions. It's broader than that, but as I've mentioned several times, it is particularly acute with respect to those medications. We've alerted the Attorney General's office. Other major dailies in California are going to be exploring this issue. And I appreciate that this board actually provides this opportunity at board meetings for folks to request items to be placed on future agendas, and that is absolutely what I'm doing. I make myself available for follow-up from staff if I can be of help to them in framing the issue for a future board agenda. And I know that psychiatrists who belong to the California State Association of Psychiatrists will make themselves available as well. Thank you for listening to me today, board members, and I look forward to some collaboration later in 2023 on this very important issue.
All right, our next request for comment is from calling user number 7. Calling user number 7, you should see a prompt to unmute yourself. Go ahead and click it. All right, calling user number 7, we'll try that again. To unmute yourself, it's *6. All right, calling user number 7, we'll come back to you. I'm going to move on to Jonathan Personius. Jonathan, you should be able to unmute yourself. So Jonathan, if you see a prompt to unmute yourself, go ahead and click on it. Okay, so Jonathan Personius, you would press *6 to unmute yourself if you've called in. All right, so Jonathan has lowered his hand. We'll move on to calling user number 4. And calling user number 4, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you go. Calling user number 4, you're unmuted. Calling user number 4, you are unmuted.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is actually Jonathan Personas. I joined by phone and I also joined by screen. I don't have audio on my screen, so I apologize for that.
No worries.
And so I'm actually joining this meeting. So my name is Jonathan Personas. I am a pharmacist/owner of a pharmacy out in Georgia. And I was more so trying to prompt a question for the panel to find out if there's any initiatives underway to improve the licensing process for the pharmacists, technicians, non-resident pharmacies, and pharmacies in California. We've submitted our application, and just a little background, we submitted our application back in June of 2022. And the
President,
process
this is Eileen Smiley. Sorry to interrupt, but this is not the appropriate. If there's a licensing question, you should probably direct it to the board staff. The executive officer could provide some comments. This is really an opportunity to request for items for future agendas.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I've reached out to the board and I've sent multiple emails over the past year, and so this was kind of like a last resort. Is there a best person that I should make contact with for the request or for the follow-up? Because I've just haven't had any luck getting responses from the board on any of my previous attempts via phone or email.
Good morning. This is Ann Sodergren, Executive Officer for the Board of Pharmacy. If you could please send me your contact information, I'd be happy to reach out to you directly. Thank you.
All right, and we'll circle back to calling user number 7. Calling user number 7, you should be able to unmute yourself. All right, it looks like calling user number 7 is still having difficulty, so we'll move on to Tom So. And Tom So, if you have a comment for future agenda items, you are unmuted.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
Hello.
Hello, my name is Tom So. I'm a pharmacist in California, and I work at a drug database company. So we provide the label warnings that go out to the retail setting. And I was wondering if the board has a stance on the proposed amendments to AB 1619, if you're familiar with that.
Oh, hi, this is Eileen Smiley. Although we use question and answer feature to place future items on a future agenda, it's not a question and answer opportunity for the board. Some of these things, if the board has positions on some of these, they may be covered in the April meeting. And we have not agendized this item for discussion.
Okay, so potentially the April meeting, sounds like.
We'll keep you all apprised. April is a legislation and regulation committee meeting, so we might consider it if we believe, up to the discretion of the chair, if it is something that we think is will take the position. Thank you for all the comments. Go ahead, Tricia.
Call-in number 7 did briefly unmute himself, so I want to see if he can do it again. So call-in user number 7, if you could try to unmute yourself one more time. All right, unfortunately, it looks like calling user number 7 cannot unmute himself. All right, so I will go ahead and close the Q&A panel.
Okay, thank you for all the comments. And here I thought we're gonna hear no comments today. And we had a lot of comments. Members, any comments after hearing some comments? I don't think that we have any specific things to agendize, but just gonna open it up. Members. Maria?
I think I wanted to understand a little bit more about the first item, if that's something we're going to be discussing elsewhere, or is that staff going to follow up on, or is that something we should agendize?
I'm more than happy to agendize. If you are interested in hearing about it, we could probably have a little more discussion on it as well.
I'm not sure of the scope, and so perhaps it would depend upon the scope, because it could be a contractual issue. It could be, I don't know what it could be. It could be lots of things, and makes it hard to agendize. That's my only comment.
Okay, we'll definitely discuss. Any other comments? All right, we're moving on. Thank you everyone for the comments, always. Moving on to next agenda item 3, a recognition and celebration of pharmacist license in California for 40 years. As you may recall, several years ago, the board changed its recognition program for pharmacists and currently recognizes pharmacists that have been licensed for 40 or more years. Recognition of pharmacists reaching this milestone is posted on our website, and pharmacists are provided with a certificate. Prior to transitioning to remote meetings, the board routinely provided an opportunity for pharmacists licensed for 40 years to attend a board meeting and be recognized by the board. Although we have returned to remote meetings, I would like to provide an opportunity for the board to recognize pharmacists that have been licensed in California for 40 years or more. Moderator, I'd like to ask that you open up a Q&A feature to allow any pharmacists attending today that would like to be recognized by the board for 40 years of more of service as a California licensed pharmacist. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of your screen and submit it to all panelists. Or you may simply raise your hand. We are displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I'm seeing no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please.
You're welcome.
Congratulations,
This is
sir.
Eileen Smiley. I just wanted to make sure that the minutes reflect that I see member Cameron Banks now on the panel. I don't know if we've done a mic check with her, but I just want the minutes to reflect that she is present. Now she's dropped off, so I see maybe
her.
Ignore that, but oh, you do?
I see. Yeah.
So I just wanted to clear up for the record, can member Cameron Banks just indicate orally that she is present before we consider this next item?
Public member present.
Thank you, Indira. I'm glad your microphone is working. All right, thank you, Eileen. Appreciate it. All right, so congratulations to everyone who has been a licensed pharmacist for over 40 years. The board thanks you for your contribution to public health. Moving on to next agenda item 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action to sponsor legislation to amend Business and Professions Code Section 4427.8 related to legislative report on the regulation of automated drug delivery system. Don't worry, everyone. We're not sponsoring another ginormous legislation. This is just technical fix we're hoping to accomplish. So as included in the meeting materials, the board is required to report to the legislature on the regulation of automated drug delivery system known as ADDS. As included in Business and Professions Code Section 4427.8, the report is due on or before January 1st of 2024 as part of the board's sunset review evaluation. In response to the COVID-19 health emergency, the board's sunset date was changed. However, a conforming change to align the ADDS legislation report was not. Staff are recommending sponsorship of a technical change to the language in Business and Professions Code Section 4427.8 to update the due date for submission of the legislative report to align with the board sunset process. It is my understanding that such a change could potentially be facilitated as an omnibus change that could be done through a legislative committee sponsor measure. Members, I'm comfortable with the staff recommendation and note the meeting materials include a possible motion should we believe action is appropriate. I see Jesse's hand is raised. Jesse, go ahead.
Hi, Sung. I just wanted clarification because it says the deadline is January 1st, 2026, but then the year in the proposal says 2025. Is that just to give us some leeway for the first half to review?
I'm going to have Anne speak on that because she understands sunset like back of her hand. So
Thank you. I don't know that I understand it that well, but so the time frame is to reflect the time frame for which the board would be submitting its report. So generally, the board's report, sunset report, is submitted generally a year before the sunsetting date reflected in the statute. And that allows time for consideration of the board through the legislative process in the year.
Great, thank you.
Would you be willing to make a motion, Jesse? Since your hand is raised already? Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Perfect. Thank you, Jesse. As displayed on the slide. Anyone second motion for Jesse?
I'll second.
Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it. Any other member comments? All right. We'll go for public comment, Tricia.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. I've opened up the Q&A panel. If any member of the public would like to comment on this agenda item, please type comment using the field in the lower right-hand corner of the screen and submit it to all panelists, or simply raise your hand. We're displaying instructions and we'll give you a moment. All right, I see no requests for comment. Shall I close the Q&A panel?
Yes, please. Thank you, Tricia. Having received public comment, and we'll take a roll call vote. Maria, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Indira, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Trevor, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Jesse, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Jose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. KK, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Jason, how do you vote?
I abstain, Sung.
Thank you, Jason. Sorry, I should have known. And I vote yes, the motion passes. All right, thank you, everyone. And we are now moving to next agenda item. Agenda item 5, petitions for reinstatement of licensure, early termination, or other modification of penalty. As included on the agenda, we'll be considering several petitions today. I'd like to turn the meeting over to Administrative Law Judge Jessica Wall to preside over the hearings. And the hearing will be in the order that's agendized. So we'll start with Redford. So, Your Honor, the floor is yours. And I think we don't need a break. It's only 9:26. So maybe after first petition, we can take a break. And then hopefully we'll go to lunch around 12 if it goes past. But the floor is yours. And get back to...
Sorry, may I interrupt just for a moment? Mr. Weinberg, the counsel for one of our petitioners today, was wanting to get a mic and camera check with the moderator at some point.
Ms. Trauma, which case is that attorney on?
That is the Shamuni matter. It's the last petition.
Okay, so I'll defer to, I think it's Ms. St. Clair is the one who's doing our mic and video check. Would you like to do that now, or would you like to do that right before we get to the matter?
Let's do it right before we get to the matter.
Yeah, also for the sake of time, I would request that we do it during that break. So.
All right, so the first thing I want to address is, do we have our court reporter present?
Your Honor, these are all recorded via electronic recording per the consent of all the petitioners.
Okay, so I want to confirm I should be making a recording, or will we be using the WebEx recording?
I believe they're using the WebEx recording. Can we confirm that with them?
This is the moderator, and that is correct. WebEx, we're using the WebEx recording, and that recording is happening as we speak.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. St. Clair. So the next thing, President O, when I've sat with you before, I generally ask you to poll the panel members for their questions. Do you mind doing that today?
Not at all.
Thank you very much. Let's see, do we have Mr., is it Henrique? Present?
Your Honor.
Good morning. Could you please pronounce your name for me?
Sure. It's Radford Henriquez.
Henriquez, thank you. Ms. Henriquez, okay, I can see your video is on. Excellent. Do you have any witnesses in support of your petition today?
No, it's just going to be myself today, Your Honor.
And all of the documents you intend to submit are with your petition packet? Nothing new?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. I think those are all of my questions, so we can go on the record and begin. I want to use everyone's time efficiently. We are here today to review 5 petitions for early termination of probation. This matter is being heard before the California Board of Pharmacy. We have previously established a quorum, which has been recorded via this audio record on WebEx. My name is Jessica Wall. I'm an administrative law judge with the Office of Administrative Hearings, and I've been assigned to preside over this matter. The first matter we will call today is the matter of the petition for early termination of probation filed by Radford Henriquez, agency case number 6264, OAH case number 202302. I apologize. I'll start at the OAH case number again. 2023-030205. May I please take the appearance of the Deputy Attorney General?
Good morning, Your Honor. Nicole Trauma. I'm appearing on behalf of the Attorney General for the people of the state of California under Government Code Section 11522.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. And Mr. Henriquez, I can see you present on camera. Good morning.
Good morning.
Before we go any further, I'd like to swear you in so that we can consider anything you say as testimony. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will provide in this hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. I'm going to give you a few instructions as you are representing yourself. In this proceeding, the board is concerned with hearing about any rehabilitation you have undergone since your license was disciplined. Ms. Trauma will go first, presenting your petition package and providing a background in this matter. After that, you will have the opportunity to make your presentation. I want to remind you that the board has had the benefit of reading your petition package, and you do not have to repeat anything in that package. You will be subject both to questions by the board and by Ms. Trauma. After the hearing today, the board will go into closed session to deliberate. You will not receive a decision today. It will be mailed in the future. Do you have any questions about that, Mr. Henriquez?
No, I do not.
Thank you very much. So I will go first to Ms. Trauma. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. We're here today on a petition for early termination of probation. The underlying accusation alleged that petitioner violated laws and regulations governing the practice of pharmacy, was convicted of substantially related crime, had alcohol-related convictions, and used alcohol in a dangerous manner. Specifically, he was convicted on August 10th, 2017 for driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or more, with a second driving under the influence conviction within 10 years. His blood alcohol content on that conviction was 0.19%. As a result of that conviction, he had to serve 4 days in jail, complete an 18-month second offender DUI program, and placed on 48 months probation. As a disciplinary consideration, the accusation alleged that in January 2013, the board issued him a citation for having been convicted of driving with a blood alcohol content of 0.08% or more on August 13, 2012. Petitioner resolved the accusation via stipulated settlement, and that was adopted by the board. Effective November 7th, 2018, petitioner's pharmacist license was revoked. He was placed on probation for 5 years under certain terms and conditions. To date, he has been compliant with the terms and conditions of his probation, including reporting to the board on a quarterly basis, paying investigative costs, paying costs associated with probation monitoring, being employed for at least 40 hours per month, successfully participating in the Pharmacist Recovery Program, or also known as PRP, being randomly screened for drugs and alcohol, abstaining from the use of alcohol and drugs, abiding by the prescription coordination and monitoring requirements, and not owning any licensed premises. With regard to his participation in the PRP, he completed that program in June of 2022. He has filed this instant petition for early termination of probation, and included with it is a copy of the prior decision and order, quarterly reports from his prescription monitor, documentation regarding his monitor fees, annual performance evaluations, the Maximus program records, AA attendance cards, recommendation to enter the transition part of the PRP, petitioner's essays for the Maximus program, Maximus letter of completion, petitioner's written prayers, continuing education certificates, 5 letters of recommendation, all verified by board staff, as well as some older recommendation letters. And I'd now like to mark as Exhibit 1 the petition packet, which includes the memorandum to the board, the petition, and all the documents that were attached to his packet. They've been Bates labeled AGO 01 through AGO 346, and as well as the notice of hearing and the consent signed by petitioner for electronic reporting. I request that that be marked as Exhibit 1 and admitted into evidence subject to my request for a protective order that was filed with the request to send.
Okay, so Ms. Trauma, just so I know where to find that, that request for a protective order is going to be somewhere within the 346 pages or after that?
The request for protective order was filed with the request to set, and this is requesting that the substance abuse treatment records, including the Maximus program records, be sealed, and those are at AGO 83 through 89 and AGO 117 through 177.
Okay. So I want to make sure my record is clear. So the request to set addresses AGO page numbers 83 to 89 and 117 through 177, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Thank you, and I'll grant that protective order. Mr. Enriquez, I want to ask you if you have any objection to the admission of your petition package as Exhibit 1.
I do not have any objections.
Thank you very much. Exhibit 1 is admitted into evidence.
Thank you, Your Honor. It's now petitioner's opportunity to address the board.
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. I appreciate your work. So we will now go to you, Mr. Henriquez. So as I mentioned before, this is your opportunity to present your case. You do not need to repeat any items within your petition packet because the board has had the opportunity to read and review it. This is your opportunity to provide a board with the background of why you filed your petition and why you believe it should be granted. So with that, you may begin.
Thank you so much. And first off, I just want to say good morning and thank you, Your Honor, Deputy Attorney General Trauma and President O and the members of the board for just taking time out of your day to examine my petition for early termination. I really appreciate it. Looking back at my journey thus far, it's really just opened up my eyes to a lot of things. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that as crazy and as virulent and chaotic my life was up until that point, I really wouldn't have it any other way. I'm extremely grateful and I'm remorseful, but beyond thankful for the journey that I've been through, and I see my life now as a living testimony. I remember the first day I was put on probation when I first was sat in front of the board. I was scared, I was young, and just unsure of my future in this profession. And I was full of feelings of betrayal, anger, anxiety, desperation, uncertainty that haunted me from the past. And these were just results of years of abandonment and hurt I went through beginning at a very young age, which continued into my adult life. I remember reading the stipulations and thinking to myself, how am I going to get through all of this on my own? But it wasn't until later that it would finally click for me. I wasn't really doing this on my own. In fact, I never was doing this on my own. I had a group of people, a support system that I took for granted, and a community that I always had at my fingertips, which I failed to use in the past. As I have learned along the way, recovery is one day at a time, one step at a time. It's a constant work in progress. In my profession as a pharmacist, I gave an oath, one that I didn't uphold as a result of my conduct in the past. I've realized that I can't be there for my patients if I'm not there for myself. So a lot of change and a lot of work had to go in through this process. Excuse me. Besides recovery and just a meaningful life in sobriety, one of my greatest accomplishments thus far was the successful completion of the PRP, which is the Pharmacy Recovery Program. Because of this, I was introduced to my outpatient healthcare support group. This group gave me huge insight on what to expect, how to navigate probation and sobriety in general, and I met a group of individuals who were all within the healthcare system going through the same or similar situations as myself. They gave me hope that I too could get through all of this. Because of them, I was able to open up and fully accept the process ahead, and I attended AA meetings regularly. Actually found myself engaging in these meetings. I met my sponsor back in 2019 at one of the local clubs where he offered more than 25 years of sobriety. He took me in as his own, and because of him, I became an avid attendee and member of the Torrance Lomita Alano Club and the South Bay Alano Club. Today, I continue to be very active in the AA community in South Bay, where I attend 3 to 4 meetings weekly, including my weekly men's stag meeting, which is run by my sponsor, my 11th step meditation meeting, which is held at the beach pending the weather. And my personal favorite is the newcomers meeting that I attend weekly. Some of the members that are in my weekly meetings are also participants I met through the healthcare support system back in 2018. Currently, I'm in constant contact with my sponsor, and we make it a point to eat once every 2 to 3 weeks just to catch up. In December of 2022, last year, I accepted my 6-year coin and cake for my birthday in sobriety. Through all this, I have found the confidence and experience to sponsor others going through similar struggles that I have been through. I am currently sponsoring a 26-year-old by the name of Jacob who struggles with alcoholism, and I'm proud to say that he's now over 8 months sober. Going through it, the step work for me was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but I know it's been the most useful in my life. Not only did I find a means to cope with any situation I'm in, but I also developed a meaningful relationship with my higher power through the steps. I became a devout Christian as a result, and I currently serve at South Bay Community Church, which is a church of well over 2,000 members. This year, on April 9th, 2023, I will be celebrating my 5th spiritual birthday, commemorating the day I got baptized in the church. For the past 4 to 5 years, I have been extremely involved in church, which continues to this day. My involvement is just a testament to my sobriety, as I would never have made time for this before the program. Some things that I'm involved in the church include my involvement in a small group, which we meet every Mondays to spend time in the Word of God and pray for whatever's going on in our lives. I'm involved in an accountability group, which is a smaller version of my small group, who we check in with daily via WhatsApp to encourage and pray for each other, ensuring that we're just leading a straight and narrow path. And then if we're struggling with anything, we just remind each other to turn to God for healing. I also attend and participate Tuesday night weekly prayer meetings where we pray for our entire church, which I've submitted to you folks as well. I am now one of the senior worship leaders at my church, where I serve on the weekends to not only greet our congregation on stage, but I also lead our church in worship, and I end church worship in prayer, which can all be viewed online on our church's YouTube channel, which is broadcasted weekly live. I serve in the greeting ministry, the hospitality ministry, the Next Steps ministry, as well as community outreach ministry, which we feed and clothe the less fortunate during the holiday season. And probably one of the more important things to me is my involvement as part of the first Celebrate Recovery group that we started at our church. For those of you who don't know, Celebrate Recovery is a biblical approach to help sustain and offer healing to the years of hurt through using an addiction. We find healing through scripture and through our higher power. And I think for me, what it was just a safe place for me to share my struggles with addiction and to heal with others who are also struggling with other vices and alcoholism as well. I have gained so much more than I could ever imagine from the program and from probation. I know that after my first DUI, I made very minimal changes in my life. I think really the only significant change I made was to attempt to Uber as much as I could, but even that didn't work. On my second offense, I knew that there was nothing I could do on my own. I needed help from something so much greater than myself, and that's what the program provided, and ultimately I found my higher power. Sobriety has offered me a life that is unhindered and crystal clear. It has given me a second chance to enjoy the blessings and appreciate the good in my life, especially in my family life. I'm able to be the father I never had to my now adult daughter.
Take your time.
Excuse me. I couldn't erase the hurt and the despair I caused in the past, but I could definitely rewrite my present and the future. As a result, I am more than active in her life, and I share joint custody with her mom. I realized I put her second to drinking in the past. She, in turn, has proven to be such a blessing in our lives and produces straight A's in school. She's the captain and starting point guard for all 4 years on varsity basketball team. And she has also shown a tremendous responsibility by getting her driver's license and working at a local restaurant 3 times a week on top of school. I have been extremely proud of her. And I used to hold on to years of hurt and anger from abandonment and people in my life. But through sobriety, I was able to learn what forgiveness was. And I actually put it to practice in my life today. I think a testament to this is having my daughter's mom, Lauren, write a letter of recommendation for me. And it just shows our relationship in this current day. We attend family dinners almost nightly. I babysit her now 2-year-old, who is my daughter's half-sister, and she brings so much joy in my life. Her husband and I are workout partners, and we even go on family vacations together. In terms of work, sobriety has offered a tremendous work-life balance for me. I was blessed to have found employment at Torrance Memorial Medical Center, where I currently work as a clinical pharmacist. I have been there almost 9 years, and they have been so supportive of my entire journey through the program. I have found that sobriety has really opened up my potential in the hospital and a leader in our profession, and thus I am extremely involved and in and around our department. Some of the many hats I do wear is I was the 2021 co-chair, the 2022 chair, and the now current 2023 treasurer of our Pharmacy Operations Council. I'm a member of the IV Workflow Committee, the lead morning pharmacist in our sterile compounding area, a member of the chemotherapy work group. I'm a super user to various process implementations, including IVX and Pharmacy Keeper. I'm a skills validator for our IV room competency. I'm the hospital's Vitality Champ representing the pharmacy department. I am the chair of our ED work group, which is a collaborative work group with our emergency department. And I'm an appointed member to a small subgroup that is currently working to beautify our stairwells and adding visual and health benefits in our hospital. In terms of outside of work, I continue to pursue my passion in health. I believe as a part of my overall relapse prevention program that not only is a work-life balance important, but also overall health and fitness as well. Thus, I have become a fitness trainer as a level 1 CrossFit coach, offering one-on-one training and group classes at our local CrossFit box. And I am a part of our nutrition coaching team, which within our community. I have done all of that in the past 4 years and counting. Just to close up, all in all, sobriety has just really opened up my eyes and my potential in the world around me. It has become a personal statement of mine to live a better life and help people in the process, whether it be other people struggling with addictions in the program or at work with my patients and coworkers, in the gym with my clients, at church, or even at home. I'm extremely proud of the work that I have accomplished thus far and confident that this new life in sobriety is exactly where I need to be for my profession and my overall life in general. My daughter is about to graduate from high school in June. And in fact, this week, she's waiting to hear back from colleges if she's accepted or not. We've already received one acceptance, but with that come extreme financial responsibilities. And I think above any reason, having the financial freedom from probation will help better me navigate this upcoming year as my daughter begins college. I have been 100% compliant with the terms of probation up until this point, and I have changed my life for the good. So with all that said, I really would like to ask you all to strongly consider my petition for early termination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henriquez. And when I've sat in the past with this board, they've had the DAG ask questions first. Let me just double check with President O. Is that your preference?
Sure.
Thank you. Ms. Trauma, if you wouldn't mind asking the petitioner some questions.
Thank you. With your petition, you provided a very lengthy description of your drinking history and recovery efforts. Can you tell us what is your date of sobriety?
So my date of sobriety that I celebrate is December 17th, 2016.
And in your past, you've had several periods of sobriety, even years, where you didn't drink, but then followed by relapses. So why do you think you were successful at maintaining sobriety this time around?
It's, going through this process in preparing for today has really just brought up a lot of emotions, but also the amount of work and effort I put into these past 5 years while being on probation. I think though the biggest thing that I can attribute to my success this time around is finding my higher power. And that's, Jesus Christ. I became a Christian, and since then, he has just changed my life tremendously. In ways I can't even explain. It's just beyond my understanding. And honestly, what I have to thank to that is the step work. Because had I not engaged in the step work, I wouldn't have looked to my higher power for any of this healing. I would probably have done what I've done in the past, which is relied on myself, made minimal changes, but continued on the path that I was going. And I truly believe that the program has changed my life.
Do you feel like now you can identify and deal with your triggers?
100%, yes.
Now, you testify that you continue to attend AA meetings. How many times per week are you going?
I mentioned I go 3 to 4 times, and that's on average. There's sometimes I go a little bit more or even less, but I try to average around 3, not 4. So.
Okay, and will you continue to go even if probation is terminated?
100%. Just a fun fact. I actually learned how to brew coffee at one of my first AA meetings as like my job at the meeting. So, I have a lot to give thanks because I'm such an avid coffee drinker now, but I didn't know how to make my own coffee there. But I 100% would continue to still go. I have friends. I'm also sponsoring the 26-year-old I mentioned in my testimony. So, it's become a part of my life, and this is not something I would turn my back on. So.
Yeah, you mentioned Jacob. How long have you been sponsoring him?
So I've been sponsoring him about, I would say, a year, but he kind of reminds me of myself in a way. He's very young, does things for himself. And, in the beginning, it was very hard. He relapsed how many times? But in the past 8 months, he's been living this straight and narrow life. And I think it has to do with, the work that we've done, but he's also realized like he wants to clean up his life. And so he's enrolled in becoming a cop. So he's going through the whole process in becoming a police officer. And so, he's kind of turning a page in his life. And so he's now a little over 8 months sober. So.
And I believe you testified that you speak with your sponsor 1 to 2 times per week. Is that correct?
I try to speak with him, but I go to a meeting that he facilitates. Excuse me.
Now, you completed the pharmacist recovery program in June of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And you were fully compliant with that program?
Yes.
And what would you say, what aspect of probation has made a biggest impact on you?
I think AA, to be honest. Like I said, it was kind of like a domino effect. I started off as one of those members, or not members of, or attendees of AA, as what we refer to as the card attendees, where I just sat in and brought my AA card just to be signed for requirement. But it wasn't until I started engaging, after meeting my healthcare support group and then meeting my sponsor, these people really made me feel comfortable with the process. And as a result, it just kind of triggered different steps for me. And so I have a lot to thank for the AA.
Now, have you completed all the requirements of your criminal probation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you tell the board what, if anything, you learned from your conviction and your subsequent criminal probation?
That this is just not the life I wanted to live. I think people make mistakes looking back, but I'm thankful to have this community, this program. I was thankful to be put on probation. When I first started, there was no thanks to be given. I was nervous. I was scared. I felt like this was the end for me, but going through it, it really has changed my life and saved it. I can't thank you guys enough. So.
You don't have any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Trauma. So I'm now going to turn it over to President O to poll the board members about whether they have any questions for you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I will start with our usual order. Maria?
Thank you. Dr. Enriquez, thank you for your testimony today and your long letter that showed your journey and your process and your accomplishments. I was really impressed also with your service in your community and in the hospital, being an example to others. So that's all I wanted to state, and congratulations on your sobriety and best of luck.
Thank you so much, Dr. Serpa.
Indira?
No questions.
Thank you, Indira. Trevor?
Thank you. Again, echoing Dr. Serpa, just thank you for your comprehensive outline of your recovery. One question I usually like to ask is, as someone who is in active recovery currently, how is that going to inform your work as a pharmacist and corresponding responsibility with obviously many other forms of addiction? Now that you have seen your own path, how is that going to inform how you use your corresponding responsibility when you're having to prescribe potentially addictive substances to patients?
Oh, that's a good question. I just think part of the oath of being a pharmacist, going back to how I mentioned, I gave that oath, just doing right by my profession, and recognizing the signs of addiction, the signs of dependency, and moving forward in that fashion as a pharmacist. I think just upholding my oath as a pharmacist. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. As someone who is also in active recovery for alcoholism, just congratulations on your journey and your continued path and all the work that you're doing. So thank you and good luck on the rest of your journey.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Trevor. Jesse?
Thank you. I just have a couple questions for you. So I know that you mentioned that you're looking to do early termination in part because your daughter is going to college, so just for financial reasons. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is another reason, which, I don't know how much weight it holds for me, but my little sister is turning 30 this year. And as a result, my entire family is traveling to Japan. My brother, my sister, my mom, dad, aunts, and my grandma. I'm currently the only one who's not going because of the restrictions in the program. And so I would love to be in attendance for my sister's 30th, but obviously the financial burden is what's going to take the greatest weight for me. So.
Great. And you have about 8 months left on the probation, is that right?
Yeah, November 6th of 2023, I believe.
Okay. I don't really have any other questions, but I did want to thank you so much for being so thorough in your packet and being so vulnerable with us. And I just want to congratulate you on all your hard work. You should be really proud.
Thank you. I do apologize too. I'm a crier, so I tried my hardest not to cry, but I apologize for getting
You don't
choked
have to apologize.
Thank you, Jesse. Jose?
No questions for me. Just, congratulations on your sobriety and may God continue to bless your path.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jose. KK?
No questions. Congratulations to you, Mr. Enriquez. Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, KK. Jason?
Just thank you for appearing today, Dr. Enriquez. We know it is not easy. Thank you for owning your history and your transformations, including your physical transformations. I find that really quite impressive. So thank you.
Thank you. I used to weigh 240 pounds and today I'm 175. So I shedded off the weight with the old life that I used to live. And I'm very proud of it. So
Incredible.
Thank you.
I myself don't have a question. You've answered all of them. I just would like to say, along echoing all the board members, congratulations on all that you've done so far. I hope you really sincerely, I do believe, hope you continue on your journey. And thank you really for the very thorough package you submitted that helps me tremendously in, evaluating this case. Again, congrats, and I hope you all the best and good luck to you.
Thank you.
And Your Honor, back to you.
Thank you very much, President O. I'm going to double check with Ms. Trauma if she has any additional questions after the board members' questions.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Mr. Henriquez, if you have anything else that you would like to add before we conclude in your petition hearing, now is the time.
I have nothing additional to add. Just a lot of gratitude and thanks for everything that I've been through. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. That concludes the petition hearing in this matter. The case is submitted and the record is closed. We are off the record in this matter and will proceed to the next petition. President O, would you like to take a break or go straight to the next?
Let's take a 10-minute break, please, Your Honor. Thank you. We'll be back at 10:10. And moderator, if you could please make sure, obviously, I'm sorry not to be micromanaging. If you could please make sure that the next two petitioners are hopefully all lined up and everything ready to go. Thank you, Tricia.
You're welcome.